So if anyone has any questions, you can type in or you can just unmute yourself.
Hi, Greg. It's Marion.
Hey, Miriam.
How are you?
Doing good.
That's good. Couple of things. We have been kind of alarmed at the upsurge of the Delta variant.
Yeah.
Provincetown here has been.
Well, I think a lot of places have been concerned about the rise. Yeah.
It looks like we have to start paying attention again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did have a question about the air pollution from the fires out west. We're seeing a lot of it here, and a lot of people are coughing, and I've been experiencing a sore throat from it, and fatigue, and brain fog.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you have any suggestions.
So you have several things that are happening because of that. The brain fog that's usually a lymphatic issue, like just poor lymphatic movement. So one of the things that you can do to reduce that is actually you can work the lymphatic system, but one of the ways we work the lymphatic system, especially when it's in like kind of a crisis mode or like a quick detoxification. This is something we're actually going to address on the weekend. But we'll just start the parameters. Is you start with utilizing some sort of diuretic. It could be juniper, it could be parsley, it could be celery. The one, lovage is another one that can be done. The one that I like to use for this is sandalwood, actually. That sandalwood will undo blockages in the pelvis, blockages in the lymphatic system, and any sort of venous blockage, which means, the veins. Because the lymphatic system is not just immunity, it's also part of your cardiovascular system. And so anytime you have like fluid retention and like the legs or wherever you're having some blockages in the venous circulation, but the venous circulation can also be compromised with the internal organs or the lungs themselves. And so, you just take like a drop or two of diuretic and then significantly increase water consumption.
Yeah,
And
I've been doing that.
Yeah. Well, you do it still with a diuretic. You want to, because sometimes the blockage is you take in the water, but the body just ends up dumping the water in different body parts or, different areas. And so the diuretic really helps keep everything flushing through. And by going through and doing that, you are detoxifying a little bit, but it still doesn't resolve the issue along with the lungs. And so with lungs, we want to go through and detoxify as well as deepening the breath. And so, things like pine can be good, even the spruces, frankincense, things like that. I tend to turn to Sitka. We did finally get the larch. So larch is one of the top things for the lungs. It's not super expensive, but it's not something you have in your repertoire right now. But larch is really good for clearing out the chest. And even helichrysum would be good. That could be actually beneficial. Even something like lavender could be actually helpful. And you're going to need to do it multiple times in a day.
What am I doing?
Yeah, because you're constantly being exposed to it. I mean, we're even a little bit here in the Iowa. We're not getting, it probably like you guys, but it is hitting our arena, our area. And so, my lungs, I noticed like it's a little bit harder to take a deep breath. I have to consciously take a deep breath, things like that. I'm coughing more. And, you know, it's those wildfires out on the West Coast. I mean, they're crazy. I mean, it's very rarely do you see fires change weather, and it's not just the West Coast, it's happening internationally. And so, you know, building our skill sets on how to go through and treat this is going to have to be a thing for now to through the future. And so these are good places to start. Even that respiratory support should help, but I usually step it up a notch and do something a bit anti-inflammatory and detoxifying to the lungs. And again, you're just doing a lot of long, slow, deep breaths with that.
Oh, so these are all for inhaling that you're.
Yeah. You know, I haven't really come up with something that you can ingest. You know, I thought about the lobelia for it a little bit, but you know, part of what's happening is you're also not just getting enough oxygen. And so all these things should help with oxygen uptake.
When you said 1 drop of sandalwood, for example, per day?
Yeah, just daily. Like it doesn't need much. You know, so like a drop of sandalwood or juniper or lovage or parsley, you know, one of those things, while increasing the water intake.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I've been really surprised. I thought I had a flu or
It's
something.
bad. Like, you know, because I've been watching it in the news, and in years past when they go, oh, there's going to be smoke on the, you know, spreading from the West Coast to wherever, you know, you're like, you watch it and you go, yeah, there's a little bit, but it's not crazy. This is crazy.
This
is super crazy. Those fires, the way that multiple fires are, you know, fires are usually influenced by the weather. These are fires that are instead of being influenced by the weather, they're actually changing the weather, and the smoke shooting high up into the you know, the airstreams, and it's just shooting all over the place. And so yeah, it's something similar I think is happening in Spain, and I think there's a couple other places I read that it's starting to happen. So it's part of an environmental condition that's happening right now.
Yeah.
And so it's probably not going to be the only season it happens. So we just got to start building our chops. I mean, it's something that we've never seen before. We just got to start building our chops on how to deal with it. And so let's see. So we had foggy thinking, difficulty with breathing, like how to treat the lungs, and what was the other one?
Well, it was a sore throat. Yeah. And
sore throat. Okay. Yeah. So sore throat, and this would actually still help. The respiratory complaints is bay laurel. Like anytime you start to have like throat issues, or I mean, bay laurel does multiple things. So for one, if there's a lot of different kind of bacterial infections that may happen, you know, to cause a sore throat, bay laurel usually knocks them out. You know, bay laurel is a really good broad spectrum essential oil. And then on top of that, it is very good for clearing the lymph nodes. And so between the bacterial potential infections and clearing out the lymph nodes, it usually will knock out a sore throat very, very quickly. There's one oil that I kind of like to use like in big dosages when there's an immunity issue that's just not like kind of normal, or the body's having a hard time fighting it off, or with a lot of this air quality issues, people who are not used to having to deal with poor air quality. You know, people in SoCal, they're used to it. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're healthy for it, but they're used to it, right? But other places you get exposed to it, and it hits you kind of hard. There's this particular time called time thuyinol, It's like THUYANOL. And it's very good for long-term treatment. It's very good for fighting fatigue. It's very good for skin applications if there's infections in the skin. And it's well tolerated, and big dosages are possible. And so if the person's still not like kind of recovering, then you can add the Tylenol. It's much more gentle than other times, except for maybe Tylenol. Tylenol is gentle like this in the same way. And it's very good for offsetting the fatigue that can happen with long-term exposures to things like this.
Mhm.
So not necessarily something you would use for, say, treating depression like you would cinnamon, but good for when the body's been run down from either excessive exposure or being sick for a long period of time, or just being under a lot of stress. Because the air quality is also a form of stress.
Mhm.
It's a physical type of stress. So
Is the Bay Laurel to be taken internally?
you
or-
can take it internally. One of my favorite tricks is to like take a couple of drops and rub it on the back of my tongue, because then it goes up into the sinuses and it still kind of cleans up like the tonsils and the lymph nodes. You can also use it as a gargle. Several drops in water. You could put a little pinch of salt and then do like a little mouth swooshing, and then like lean head back and do the little gargle thing. That could be helpful as well. I even go so far when this feels compromised, the face, throat, nose, whatever, is I take it into the shower and I put about 5 or 6 drops into liquid soap, and then I put it on my armpits and I let it be there for, I don't know, 3-4 minutes, and then I wash it off. And really good again for cleaning up the lymph nodes, especially the upper lymph nodes up and around the neck and head.
Okay.
Yeah, we're actually gonna probably we bought the soap and everything, the liquid soap, and we're actually going to start making like a medicated soap with a couple other components, just to deal with potential COVID, potential inflammation, and then just the air quality things are going on. We're just trying to come up with things to adapt to all the craziness. It just seems to be one thing after another. So, the Delta variant, it's a rough one.
And I understand that there are other mutations coming up behind it. The longer
Yeah.
it takes us to deal with it,
Yeah,
the more mutations are going to follow up. It's hanging around.
that's pretty normal for a virus.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times, we're not dealing with the first version of COVID. I have notes all the way back at like 2004, 2005 for COVID. So we're dealing with mutations even from back then.
Mm.
Back then it wasn't crazy like it is now. Back then it was just like a flu.
Yeah.
I just happened to know physicians that with people that we were treating, that we were differentiating between the different viruses of what was going around. So that's the only reason I knew it was COVID.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would say double up on the immunity again, start inhaling the immune support. Make sure the hormones are nice and balanced. If you're fatigued, get extra rest. All those old rules apply, but I am looking at trying to come up with something that's stronger for the new variations.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes with this air pollution, I feel like I'm almost drooling, I just
Yeah, if you've ever, I mean, it's a weird thing, if you've ever been around like a fire where there's a lot of smoke and you think like, oh, there's plenty of oxygen, it's amazing how the smoke sucks the oxygen out of your your body, or you just can't access it or grab it. I mean, it's, you think like, oh, I can walk in this, I'll hold my breath a little bit, and it just drops you to the ground. I mean, it's crazy. And so, you know, there's gonna most likely be a lot more fires during fire season, you know, especially out in the West. I don't know what your guys' fire stuff happens out in the East, but the West, it's crazy.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Marianne, did you have a share or question?
Hey,
I
Miss Marianne.
have practical questions, but I also, in listening to you talk about the possibility of developing soap, this evening I was in a market that sells health food or health products, and they had cumin black seed soap,
Oh yeah.
which I purchased. I have an autoimmune disease that affects my skin, and I figured I couldn't do any harm, so I bought that.
I've never used a ton of it topically like that. I don't think there's any harm to it. I'd be curious to see what happens with it.
But is there any good to it?
Topically, I've always used it internally, although I did have a fatty oil extraction of it that we would use as a massage oil. Short term, I didn't see any big results, but I think if you're treating different conditions, there might be some that it would work good for, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So for like, so what's the autoimmune issue that you have?
I have bullous pemphigoid.
Like, let me see. I want to say try that for a little while. If it doesn't work, let's see if the parsley might help that. And so maybe we can get one out to Mary, parsley soap. We'll send you out a parsley soap.
Okay.
And see, we have these, before I put something out, like, even though I've worked with all the different components, sometimes I like to make it for a while just to make sure that it's the way that I want. And so we have all these prototypes laying around here. And so we made a parsley soap. We made a parsley soap and a parsley lotion bar. And so, we usually just put it in orders from time to time with people, but we'll get one out to you and let you play with both of them.
Okay, at some point I would like to, maybe I could email you or something regarding my condition.
Sure, yeah, feel free. Do plan on a calendar.
I value your opinion.
Yeah. Thank you, you're so sweet.
So that's something, I'm planning on at some point when I can get everything together. My practical questions are, I don't know how to raise my hand, so I just unmute myself.
That's perfect.
That's okay.
Totally perfect.
Oh, okay. So when you unmute yourself, do you wait for?
Yeah, and I'll usually just call on you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I was supposed to speak or.
Yeah, you can speak up. Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
but if I just wait for you, you will.
Yeah, I'll call on you.
All right. I didn't want to be interrupted. And the other thing, like if I was called away for a few minutes, I don't know how to darken my screen or just leave it open.
Oh, if you want, I can, if you step away, I can just turn your video off for you. Would you like that? I could just take.
Well, it doesn't particularly matter, but I notice a lot of people have blank screens and I just don't know how to do it.
Okay. I'm trying to think for you. It depends on if you're on an iPad or if you're on a computer. Are you on a computer?
Yes.
At the bottom left of your screen, it should say like unmute or mute, and then next to it says video, start video or stop video.
Yeah.
You just press that button with your mouse.
Oh, okay. All
And
right.
that- and that'll
That's
make the
easy.
video go away.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
just getting used to my computer.
Yeah, we're so glad you're joining us.
Yeah, we love
Yeah,
having you.
I'm so glad to be here.
I have a funny story about that. Like you said, like you just kind of do it. You're not quite sure how to. When I was young, I started cross-country skiing when I was like, I don't know, 20 or something, 19. And I could never figure out how to stop. Like I got good enough and strong enough to get going and really get going kind of fast, especially on downhill. But my way of stopping was to crash. It's funny how many things we do in our life where like, I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I'm going to push forward. Yeah. Never learned how to stop, by the way. Cross-country skied for 2 years. Could never pull it off. The only thing I could do was crash.
It's funny. Well, I'm glad it wasn't in front of the tree.
No, I'd always wait for like some, cushy part of the snow or something. And then I'd just fall over. But it's, looking back, I was like, how ridiculous was I when I was 20? Like I would just crash all the time. Yeah.
And Channing, your hand was raised
Hey,
earlier.
Miss Channing.
Hi.
Oh, I see.
Hi, Greg.
Are you guys getting impacted by the fires up there? I'm just curious.
Not in Seattle, but maybe on the eastern
Yeah.
side. I haven't
Yeah.
tuned into the news yet, but it's getting
Yeah.
it's definitely warm here.
Yeah, you guys got the heat wave. Yeah.
Not a heat wave today, but yes, we just came out of a heat wave a few weeks ago, so it's been really warm.
Hmm.
All right, I have a question about. Sorry for the construction noise in the background.
Can't hear it.
Okay. I have a question about difficulty with a person, a person in a situation, and I'm holding my hyssop and I'm looking at all my notes, and there's a few places that talks about repetitive thinking and difficulty with a person. So I'm having difficulty with the person, and there's repetitive thinking. And my question for you is, Greg, can you help me take out the big guns with
Sure.
essential oils?
Yeah. Of course. Let's just explore this for a little bit. Is it more work related or more personal?
It's personal.
Okay.
It's
And so
It's with a person that I've spoken to you about already, and there seems to be a lot of negativity directed towards me because he wasn't happy with the outcome.
oh, we're talking about the person from the past?
Yep.
Okay.
And but meanwhile, what's happening with me is my mental energy is fixated on the situation and on this person. And so
Right. So without going into too much detail, like I'm just going to reiterate, like, so Channing was interacting with this person and they kind of started displaying like maybe not such great behavior. And so, Channing wisely kind of nipped it in the bud so that it wouldn't continue. And now as time goes by, you can see that behavior is coming through. Because a lot of times when somebody is like trying to, I don't know, like what's the word, like trying to pull something, like trying to get their way, trying to pull the wool over your eyes, kind of scam you a little bit.
manipulation and deception.
Manipulation. One of the ways they try to do it is they try to engage you. And then in the dance back and forth, they end up getting their way through like what's happening for Channing is you are trying to resolve some sort of conflict. So what they're doing is they try to cause some sort of conflict. So you go back and forth, and the resolution is when if you were to engage them, the resolution is they get their way. And so this is still a little bit of a byproduct of that, although you're not really involved with this person. This was the dance that they always wanted to have. You know what I mean? This is their nature. Like this is kind of their mode of operation. And so even now there's a cause for conflict so that something gets resolved so they again get their way. So one of the things you can do is like the things that you've been doing. You use HISSUP, you try to diminish the negativity, but this starts to take it a step further where you're dealing with either opposition or you're dealing with some sort of conflict. People by their nature try to resolve the conflict. You know, it's actually tied to the stress response. And so people who are pulling things off like this, this is how they actually kind of prey upon people. Like they know how people do their stress response. And so then they pull their thing knowing that most people are going to behave a particular way. And so this starts to change. Like when you know somebody's doing this, the way that you approach it needs to be a little bit different. It's not normal ways of resolving it, right? You're not dealing with two people who are having a conflict and they just don't see the eye to eye. This person has a strategy or an agenda that's being put into play, and regardless of what gets said or done, or if one situation turns into another situation, they still have this strategy or agenda. And so the thing with this is you're really starting to now look at shifting from conflict resolution, and you're really starting to look at more of, you could call it higher creativity, lower creativity. You could call it by a whole bunch of different names. Depends on how you look at it. But what you're wanting to do here is you're wanting to, in that situation, you're wanting to have transmutation from the sex chakra up to the crown. You know how we do the sex, heart, throat, crown.
Mhm.
And so this is the thing that's confusing to us too, is because if we think of it as the sex chakra, we think of it as that it's like, you know, sexual, romantic, or you could go a little bit esoteric and say, oh, it's more about opportunity. And it's actually none of those. It's that when somebody really wants you to step away from your morals, when they want you to step away from your values, when they want you to step away from your virtue, that strategy is kind of a psychic attack into the sex chakra, because the sex chakra moves the kundalini up and activates the upper centers and makes you more cognitive. It makes you more connected to the higher soul. It's what activates all your chakras. So if they can nip it in the bud there, they're not doing this consciously, but the strategy is what's doing this. If they can pull a psychic attack into that area, it doesn't allow the energy to go up, and you become more reactive, and you're more likely to do what they want. It's not something that they mechanically know how to do, but they know if I behave like this, this, and this, I get my way, right? And so if you step back and you look at it, there is a mechanics to it. You know, the thing that I used to always say in the corporate world is, you know, there's a mechanics to success, there's a mechanics to prosperity, and there is a mechanics to mental disorders. And all of these things can be cultivated. You know, personality disorder can be cultivated just like soul contact. You know, it's just what are you committing to? And so when people start putting in strategies and things, that starts to be a little bit more than just they're reacting to something. You know, they're actively trying to manipulate their surroundings or other people. And so you have to kind of, like you said, bring out the big guns. So for one, being aware of it is good. Two, just know that, like, even if the situation changes or the information changes, that person's nature is still the same as it was the first time that it got evaluated and you and I talked that out. Like, it's just, this is a different manifestation. And so with that, probably the oil to use best in your circumstance. Let me think of this for a second. Let's just pull out the good old fashioned poplar balsam.
Okay.
If you don't have poplar balsam, let's have everybody kind of follow along. If you don't have poplar balsam, use like mugwort or artemisia. If you don't have that, just use something cleansing. Hyssop, palo santo, eucalyptus. Just keep it really simple, okay?
Can I
And so,
one more piece of information?
yeah, sure.
This person is trying to blame me for this
Yeah,
situation.
of course. Yeah, he wants you to resolve something.
That is really confusing to me. And I'm
Of course, because you're a nice person and you'll try to resolve it.
okay. So that's
Yeah,
the part,
he's-
that's the part that's
he's-
making me fixated.
Yeah. Like, you remember when we were first talking about this, you know, I'm involving everybody in our conversation from way
That's
back
fine.
about the detail. Is I said, like, don't worry about trying to resolve anything that he says, walk away. And it's because this is how he's trying to hook you in. Like, if he comes with a better angle, better information, better facts, you know, had the situation been important, he would have behaved very differently. And so the only way that he functions with most people is he causes conflict, hooks them in, and then does his little dance. And so that he's blaming you for something, or, you know, presenting something in front of you that's your fault or you need to resolve. Yeah, that's his strategy. Like that is, think of him as a salesman, and he's not trying to sell something to you. He's just trying to make a sale. I mean, that's all he's trying to do. And think of it also like this. If you resolve this, who does it satisfy? Does it satisfy you? No. It satisfies at the very, very most him. And that you are made whole in the situation is not likely. So why be so motivated to resolve the situation? You know, like when you start to have greater levels of awareness, you realize that's not me, that's not my fight, that's not my situation, I really don't care about that. You're able to walk away. You're not entangled in this. If you engage it, it's a lot like wrestling an octopus. I mean, it's just like wrestling an octopus. You just, every time you think you get away, you get pulled back in. And so you have your oils, right? Whoever's doing this, okay. And mugwort, artemisia, palo santo, hyssop, eucalyptus, any of those, St. John's wort. So think of a person or the situation for you. You're thinking of this person, and if you want to think about specific situations, go right ahead. Now, as you think about them, hold it in your heart. I know it seems counterproductive, but it's how we kind of get the information in so that we can release it. Okay, let the image go. Begin inhaling. Your awareness is on the sex chakra, which is where the sex organs are. Move your awareness to the front heart. Move your awareness to the throat. And then the crown. And then just be still. Be still, be aware, let go for a moment. Okay, now think of the person or the situation again. Your awareness is on your heart. Okay, let it go. Put your awareness on the sex chakra. Start taking long, slow, deep breaths. You're still on your sex chakra. You're still taking long, slow, deep breaths. You're still on the sex chakra. Still taking long, slow, deep breaths. Move your awareness up to the heart. Move it through the throat. The crown. Let go. Just let go for a moment. Go back to the sex chakra. Long, slow, deep breaths. Still on your sex chakra. Move your awareness to the heart, the center of your chest. Your throat. Your crown. Just be still, be aware, just let go. Begin inhaling again. This time your awareness is on your forehead. Your bottom of your tailbone, your basic chakra. your hips, your knees, front and back knees, your ankles, soles of your feet, your armpits, sorry, your elbows, your wrists, palms of your hands, the front heart, and the back heart, the area between your shoulder blades. Just be still, be aware. Just be still, be aware, and let go. You're just being still. Begin inhaling again. This time your awareness is on the soles of your feet. Your low back area opposite the navel. This is known as your migmen. Your back heart, the area between your shoulder blades. Your awareness is on the top of your head. Just be still, be aware, and let go. Just be still, let go. Begin inhaling again. This time your awareness is on your brain. Move your awareness to the lungs. Your liver on the right-hand side below the ribs. A little bit more to the midline, just slightly off to the right. Down to the kidneys. The spleen on the left-hand side below the ribs. The navel. An inch and a half below your navel. The bottom of the tailbone. Just be still, be aware, just let go. Chen, how do you feel right now about that person, that situation?
I'm glad I have this tool technique and support. I feel supported. I'm not scared of him anymore. For some reason, I was really scared of him.
Yeah.
I know that sounds strange because
No, it doesn't sound strange.
I think I'm
That-
scared of how it's impacted my mental state of mind. And then I had some physical discomfort as well. Even though this person isn't in my physical space whatsoever.
Think of it like this, like, because I would call this a manipulation. And when for a good for manipulation to be like effective from their end, there has to be some implied consequence to you not resolving it. So it feels like something bad's going to happen. They're going to get upset. You know, people are going to judge you. You know, it's different from situation to situation. But that's that is the mechanics to manipulation. Some
Greg,
implied threat of violence, or harm or hurt or loss or whatever.
I found myself apologizing
Yeah, of course.
for what
He's
this
good at
person said to me.
he's good at it. He's the one that did something, yet you're the one that apologizes. That's him working his angle.
Okay. I'm gonna do this how many times?
I would say, so here's the thing is like, this isn't like, oh, I do it and I feel better. You are engaged in this interaction at some point. Until you're able to walk away from this can be a daily practice. And I would suggest that you do it until you're disengaged.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
You know, and the thing is that you have to realize too, is don't be hard on yourself about this. Like you didn't see it coming because your mind doesn't work the way his mind works. That's a good thing. The bad thing is it also makes you a little bit more susceptible to it. I can't tell you how many times when I would get called into like a situation in a corporate setting, usually by the time they called a guy like me, it was really bad. It was usually really bad. And, you know, it could be literally as simple as like, yeah, who cares? Walk away. Like just walk away. But like it's such human nature to try to resolve these problems or these issues and to get along that we don't think of it as just walk away. And so until you are able to disentangle where you genuinely don't give an F, like you just don't care, you keep doing this.
I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're at, it can happen. You know, this is just the mechanics of manipulation. You know, at some point we're going to do a free class. Like we're doing this next weekend, we're doing a free class on stress and lymphatic system. We're going to do one on some very specific mechanics to psychic attack. It's the next one. I can't remember. I think it's in September or something. And we're going to go through each type of attack and how to just basically disarm it, disentangle it, just step by step. And so this one was basically you're doing a portion of the one for manipulation. You know, another word for manipulation is enslaving. Think of it like that. That puts it in perspective. Like they make you feel a certain way, like you can't get out, or you have to resolve it, or you resolve it or else, or something bad's gonna happen. That's enslavement. Yeah. If you have still a harder time getting free of this, Jenny, let me know. This should resolve it though.
Got it.
He's good. He's good, but he's not that good.
Thank you. Love you.
He's a legend in his own mind.
Yeah, and I'm the fool to believe it.
Yeah. He gets a lot of people to believe it. Don't be so hard on yourself. You're a nice person. You think everybody thinks the way you think. Nothing wrong with that. Anybody else?
Yeah, Linda, your hand's been raised.
Hey, Linda.
Hi, Greg. First of all, I just want to thank you so much. I started doing the oils with you a year ago, March, and I went through huge transitions over the last year and a half, and I feel like the oils have really helped me hold my ground.
Oh,
And,
good.
yeah, you don't ever see my face when I'm in class, but I wanted.
I
you
don't
to
see anybody's face. I look at the back of an iPad, so all I see is a little dot that I'm staring at.
Yeah. Well, I wanted you to see my little dot today. I also on Sunday,
Oh yeah, I
you-
remember. Yeah,
that was me. So I've been having really bad diarrhea for 10 days. It was like
Okay.
total water. And you
Right.
suggested to Heidi, to me, to get
Oh yeah,
wormwood.
I remember this. Yeah.
Yes. So I got wormwood tincture. So I have the drops. I didn't get,
Yeah.
and I got cinnamon oil, and I've been doing like 10 drops of wormwood, like 2-3 times a day, and
Uh-huh.
putting cinnamon in liquid. And then yesterday, the day after I started, I actually went to the emergency room because I was so dehydrated.
Sure.
And I got fluids, and
Mhm.
all my tests are negative. They can't find anything,
Yeah.
but it's traditional Western medicine.
Yeah.
And so today is the first day in like almost 2 weeks that I haven't had a bowel movement, but I'm
You
not,
mean meaning diarrhea?
no, nothing. And
Nothing,
but
just nothing. With all the
nothing, but-
diarrhea, that's okay for a day or two.
yeah, for
Yeah.
a day, it's okay. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I
Yeah.
have to say, Greg, that when I was following the protocol with my Artemisia that you were doing with Channing, I
Uh-huh.
could start to feel a shift in my belly, and I literally could feel like what's in there was starting to take form, not be
Oh,
water.
nice. Yeah.
And I did find I was able to get an appointment with a functional medicine doctor for Thursday.
Yeah,
Because
good.
I can't get to see a GI doctor till friggin' October.
Right.
So anything
And
else?
and sometimes just from experience, just because you've had diarrhea for a while, a lot of times if you don't have like a for something to be a medical condition, something has to have degenerated to the point where it's caused what is known as a medical condition, where something like diarrhea can be just a functional condition, but you can also have no medical condition that is causing the diarrhea. And so a lot of times they'll just tell you to take over the counter things. And I've treated people that have had diarrhea 10 to 15 years. And just they bounced around and wouldn't go away. And you start to look at several things. When Heidi reached out, I can't remember. I think she was at the class this weekend, and we were talking about it. I just gave some quick advice because we just need to get you stabilized. Like we need to not get you so dehydrated and whatever. But long term. So you're doing the things that I would do. You were already doing charcoal, I think she said. And so
Well,
that
I
would
stopped. I
Yeah.
stopped because it was just turning my watery stool black, but I could
Yeah.
start.
No, it's not necessary. So this is what I'd have you do. I'd probably have you double up on the wormwood tincture.
Okay.
Wormwood essential oil we can't take internal because it's too potent. It actually is too strong to take internally. So that's why like either a tincture or capsules are best from the health food store. And so that you can double up on. And so you have a couple of different reasons or causes that the diarrhea can happen. And so one is poor nerve innervation to the gut. And so in medical aromatherapy, we'd refer to this as the neurovegetable system. And it's just basically your automatic, nervous system that you don't think about, so, excuse me. So you're thinking about things in the gut and respiratory tract, things like that. But here, mostly the gut. And so these nerves sometimes, it's like how your foot goes to sleep. The nerves in your gut can go to sleep. And so right off the bat, the wormwood is good, right? And then over a period of time, what we'd probably have you do is do some anise or anise, ANISE, internally for a little bit. because that helps to regulate the autonomic nervous system, because that part of the nervous system actually divides into two. So there's like a little bit of a push-pull thing with the nervous system. And so there is a blend that we make, ANS support, that is specifically for strengthening the function of the nerves to the gut. And so, but you're going to have to treat things a little bit in steps, So one, you just got to stabilize things, which you're doing. And wormwood is really good for soothing those nerves that are either not functioning or super irritated. And then the anise or anise, however you want to say it, or the ANS blend will start to help innervate more of the nerves to the tissue. So basically your gut starts working a little bit better. Cinnamon actually kind of helps your gut work better. It starts to strengthen that parasolic rhythm in the gut. And so that can be helpful. Cinnamon can be used to wipe out diarrhea as well. But here's where I would say that, like, I have a little bit of concern for you, because it's been so long and it's not going away, is I would say that you probably have a little bit of poor vagal tone, which is the vagus nerve that comes out of the back of the head, wanders through the heart, the lungs, and then ends up in the gut. And when this loses tone, the push and pull between the two parts of the nervous system get thrown off, and you can have a whole range of symptoms. And so one of the things that we want to do is we want to strengthen the vagus nerve, or the vagal tone, so that these two parts of the nervous system balance out. Mm-hmm. And Western medicine really doesn't talk about this too much. And so even if you go to the doctor, they might mention vagal tone, but they don't necessarily go at it and treat it very hard. And it's really not something that takes a lot of crazy treatment. One of the things that I have people do is multiple times a day, I have them take about 25 inhalations of just standard, good old-fashioned marjoram. And marjoram pulls the body out of fight, flight, and it strengthens the vagus nerve and the vagal tone, so that eventually over several days, it will actually begin to regulate. And some really chronic versions of diarrhea, I've actually, they were non-responsive to some of the early treatments. And so we put them on the marjoram, and it took several days, it was 3 or 4 days, but it made the diarrhea go away. And it's because of the vagal tone. And so the other component that I would be concerned about, not massively, but you never know, is that the diaphragm, which is the bottom of your rib cage that goes side to side, front to back, it helps elevate the rib cage and everything. Sometimes when that gets tight, it compresses some of the lymphatic vessels, and doesn't allow your body to process like toxins and things quite as well. Yeah. And so it also increases tension in the spinal nerves. And so it can throw off the gut in that way.
Well,
and so,
I know that I hold stress there, so.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I would say like Hyssop decumbens, Sitka, or Larch would be the thing to do. And again, like 15, 20 breaths at a time, a couple times a day, you'll release that diaphragm. I mean, occasionally I put people on just a capsule or two of lobelia. That again is something you get from, you really can't get it from the health food store. You'll probably have to go on Amazon to get it. But that will relax the diaphragm.
I have hyssop, but I don't have that hyssop. Can I use the hyssop?
Yeah, the other hyssop's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you could start doing that, even though you're doing the other things. You could start inhaling the hyssop right off the bat. Okay, because
I
would get some marjoram, because when I look at you, you do look like your vagal tone's down.
So I'll order that from you tonight.
Yeah, and it's super cheap. Like it's A big
Okay.
bottle's 15.
I'll
15.
order that and the
Yeah.
anise or whatever, the anise,
Mhm.
I'll order that tonight.
Yeah, if you're gonna do that, get the ANS support. It's a little strong.
Okay. I was diagnosed about 2.5 years ago with SIBO. Are you familiar with that?
Mhm, mhm.
And so I'm wondering if it's also a flare up of that and all of this.
It could be. I mean, honestly, poor vagal tone and things like that. There's so many reasons why it could happen. It's just there's really no rhyme or reason sometimes. Like, you could be going along fine and just boom, it happens. Health issues can do it. Stress can do it.
Stress, yeah.
Changes in the environment can do it. Lack of sleep could do it. Fatigue. There's all kinds of reasons that could do it. And sometimes it's multiple reasons all combining.
Okay.
And so the number one goal, though, is we got to stop the loss of fluid. And so I think you're already on the right track with that. And then as you do these other things, it should start to balance out. And as you go through and even do the things that we're talking about, that should even start to undo some of the triggers that even got you here to having the diarrhea. It could even potentially, if you have some food sensitivities or food allergies, a lot of times those are poorly innervated, which basically is the nerves, organs that just aren't functioning well. And so things can get thrown off with the bacteria in the gut, with enzymes, there could be an issue with the pancreas, but what we're talking about right here is a good foundation on how to go through and start treating this, get it stabilized so that you can make deeper changes a little bit later. And sometimes the deeper changes aren't even necessary, but I would say this is a good stepping point. And if for some reason that these things don't work, then even that tells us something, but that means there's something a little more serious going on. And doesn't mean like disease or something like that, but there's some functional thing that's not functioning somewhere, and we just have to start really looking at a lot of the symptoms to basically track it down. We don't want to just like start throwing tons of things at it. Like I like to track things down.
Well, I'm hoping that's what the functional medicine doctor will help me do.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree.
Is it all right? I mean, the doctor at the ER told me to use Imodium. Is that gonna?
No,
it's okay. It won't.
fine.
It won't
Yeah.
counter.
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I would never get it, but I'm just. Pretty bad.
I mean, like there's times like it's not good to live on some of those things, but there's times where it just makes things easier to deal with. You know what I mean? It stops some of the symptoms. The issue with some medications is you start doing like kind of a trade out with the body, and you're not really addressing or healing the body. You're just kind of trading things out a little bit. Right. And I'd say in these situations, you're losing fluid the way you are. Something over the counter or something the doctor told you for a little bit, whatever makes it stop, it just needs to stop. Like it doesn't matter what it is. And then after that, then you can start getting, like I don't want to do medications, I want to do this, or I want to do it with food, or, you can start doing it a little bit more your way. But, it's not just you get dehydrated, it's also quality of life and your ability to participate in daily activities. I mean, there's so many things that this condition is doing to you that, you're aware of, but then when it goes away, you realize like, wow, it's really doing it to me. And so we just need to end all of that so you can get back on your feet and, you being you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really helpful.
Yeah. And if you have issues or something, email us and.
Yeah, or I'll come back on Tuesday. I'm gonna make this. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever works.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
And Kelly, your hand's raised.
Hey, Miss Kelly.
Hello, good evening. Hi, Greg. Hi, Sam.
Hey.
So I had a couple questions.
The
The first one, and probably most affecting me, is I was previously diagnosed with ADHD, or symptoms of that, and they diagnosed me with that. So lately, I've been having difficulty focusing and concentrating, and my short-term memory has been significantly impacted. I'm having difficulty with like creative thoughts and my ability to really organize my thinking. I think I asked about this a couple weeks back, and so I've been taking cinnamon leaf, 1 or 2 drops, maybe sometimes 3 or 4 drops in the morning.
And did that change anything or no?
A long time ago it did, but recently no. Like in the last week or 2 that I've been applying this, no, it hasn't really improved. And I also then last week I started incorporating rosemary, basil, and petitgrain, and doing a brain basic focus in the morning. And I'm running through that one. I'm hoping that would help. That didn't. I tried doing the willpower we did over the weekend without calling up
Okay.
the holy name.
Tell me your symptoms right now. Like, you know, I know ADHD, but like, you know, there's several different types. And so like give me a rundown of some of your symptoms.
Okay, so difficult focusing and concentrating.
Okay.
Difficult, like taking an idea and then materializing it into a form and putting it where it's cohesive, like, and like just organizing my thoughts. They just feel like they're floating away.
Okay.
And it's really, it's seriously impacting my ability to do tasks, just basic tasks and also other things for work. But I was also wondering, how much do these psychic attacks impact our cognitive and creative function? Because I've had a lot of that coming my way as well in the last month or 2.
Yeah. It can impact your cognitive abilities, that's for sure. Let me just sit with this for a minute and let me just mull over this a little bit. So you've had some difficulties with situations or outsiders, and then all these other symptoms.
Right. Yes, I have.
Okay.
I have almost a similar situation to what Channing was explaining tonight, where I keep dealing with it, but it keeps coming back, and it's very negative energy coming at me, but it's causing me repetitive thinking. I mean, like, you know, somebody said one thing to me, but then I've chewed on it like 1,000 times since, and it's, no matter what I do, it keeps coming back. So
it's a manipulation, or it's aggression or violence, or
manipulation completely. It's specifically, it's my mom who's got stage 4 terminal cancer. We've been estranged for 14 years until recently, like a year ago. And so being the dutiful daughter I've been trying to be, she's kind of like a classic narcissistic person. And
what does dutiful daughter look like?
Oh,
like what's that mean?
Making myself available to her in her dying days.
Yeah, you're in a difficult situation because it is apparent she is passing, but at the same time, you're opened up to, like you said.
So we had protection 2 weekends ago, right? And so I talked to her like on the Monday following the class, and she completely ambushed me. Like, I was explaining some oils that I had sent to her to handle some things that she needs help with, and she just sabotaged, just completely ambushed me. And her takeaway was she was going to take the relationship away and never talk to me again, and, you know, put this all on me because I kind of called her out for some things that she said. And she said I might as well put a bullet to her head for being, you know, which actually I didn't do anything wrong. It's just that's part of her game, and I get pulled into it. And so I don't know how this is, if this is what's causing my other problems, but they're both kind of. So I'm going to do the protocol
Okay.
tonight.
So how long have these symptoms been present?
In particular, well, I've had the ADHD symptoms in general. I remember when I was in college, they come and go.
Like the recent onset, like the presenting symptoms, like how long has this, like, you know, you had it, it kind of faded away, you're doing something, and then all of a sudden it became agitating again.
Yeah, the last 2 or 3 months, yes, since I've,
Okay. How long have you been interacting with your mom?
I just started again. Well, we've been back in contact for a year, but I've been back, and so I go through periods of like deciding maybe it's not best for me to talk with her, and then she pulls me back in. So again, I've been pulled back in. Well, a really upsetting thing took place about 2 or 3 months ago.
Okay.
Like,
So a good chance it's related.
okay.
No, I'm asking, like a good chance it's related, right?
I was thinking maybe, I mean, I'm kind of putting things together. I don't know. Heidi suggested that it might be, it might not be, it might be something that came from before. I don't know. But I've had a lot of psychic attacks and I've never cleaned it until we got these new protocols a couple weekends ago. So this all might just be in general from all of that in my life. Because I don't remember having this as a child.
And the things that you're doing, your mom doesn't have somebody to do them, or does she have access to help and whatever she needs, and you're just trying to establish a relationship, or what? To give me the dynamic a little bit.
So she's married to a man for 40 years, and she's taken care of. I don't need to do
She's taking
anything.
care of. So this is really about you and her having some sort of relationship more than anything.
That would be the intention.
Okay, so right off the bat, I would say you guys have a relationship, which means that you don't have to fulfill any of her needs. You guys are just visiting and interacting.
Correct.
I would say that's like, you need to be adamant about it. Like if she asks you to do something, your schedule's too full, you're too busy, whatever. It needs to just be about you guys connecting and not about her getting her needs met, because you know, when somebody's passing, stuff comes up for everybody, right? So, including the person, especially the person passing. And sometimes they handle it well and sometimes they don't. And so a lot of times they fall on to old skill sets of how they handle people in situations. And, you know, it could be manipulation, it could be aggression, it could, you know, who knows what it is. You need to stay out of the arena so you guys aren't going out into battle. You know, her go-to thing might be always going into battle. And so, you know, yes, we'll still try to come up with things to go through and address it, but just whatever you do, stay off the battlefield. And the battlefield is you doing things for her or her asking you to do things. Like that just needs to not be a thing on the table.
Right. So she doesn't really ask me for, I mean, you know,
no, you're trying to be a good daughter and you're trying to do things, and she's passing and like, you know, all these things, but it opens it up for her to vent on you, to put you down, to take shots at you. You know, it opens it up for a whole bunch of things. And it's like, you know, if she really needed it, I'd say that you're gonna have to suck it up, you know, because she is your mom and she is passing. But she's taken care of. And so I would say, you know, it needs to be that you guys don't have really harsh words with each other before she passes.
Right.
And that means no conflict. And so you need to stay off the battlefield. And for her, not for you, for her, the battlefield is you doing things for her, or her asking you for things, or
it's pretty
you know,
much her battlefield for me is anything, because it doesn't matter. Like, yeah.
Then if you're just in a relationship, start reducing the amount of time or how often, the frequency that you interact with her.
Right.
You know, just keep it to where it stays relatively positive. And if it can't, then maybe it just can't.
Right. Well, I'm pretty much there, I think, for my own welfare, health and well-being. I almost have to just make it a text message every once in a while, and you know, keep it nice and airy, but not really deep.
One of the things that, going back to what we were talking about with Channing, is like sometimes like in these situations, like she says something or she makes some comment or she takes some jab. And again, in this situation, it's the same with Channing in a way, but it's different circumstances, right?
Right.
There's the need to like, I need to go through and resolve this. So I need to set this straight. I need to get the facts straight. No, I don't. You don't.
Right.
She's passive. It has nothing to do with that. Your number one goal here is to not fight with your mom.
Right. I attempted that.
Just so the thing that I usually have people do in this situation is, you kind of have this image of what the past was, what it is now, but just whatever love you can hold on to with the mom, you hold on to it. And when she says something that pulls that away, you act like it just didn't even happen. You just go, okay, love, she says, what about the oils or whatever it was? And you go, okay, mom, well, love you and I hope you enjoy your movie tonight, and just don't even go there with her. Like, just don't even acknowledge the jab. Don't even acknowledge the crankiness. And so you can do the thing that we did with Channing, but I think for this situation, you're just really having to accept that your mom is cranky and she's getting ready to pass and she's not always nice. She can be a little bit mean and, at least like kind of mouthy or something. And it's not about you personally. It's that it's with other people, even if you don't see it or it seems like she behaves different. You just got to get to the place where it's none of her behavior is about you. And so I would say things that are very activating to the heart. One of the ones that's really, really nice for something like this, there's a couple. One is rose. Like, you just get a nice rose and you can inhale it, you can wear it. And if it's not an absolute, you can even put a couple drops in water and drink it. And it really does a lot to resolve those lower emotional responses where we need to defend ourselves or whatever, we're getting triggered a little bit. It just really diminishes those tendencies to get triggered. Rose is so good for that. I mean, I go long periods of time of taking rose just because of like travel and this and it's just soothing. It's very activating to the heart. It's very, very soothing. Another one that can be helpful, especially if there's a bit of anxiety or agitation that just doesn't seem to get resolved, is Melissa. Melissa, again, inhalation, a few drops of water, just a couple, like I think it was last week, my body was just, God, I was just feeling not agitated about anything. My body was just agitated. Like, it was tired, it was fatigued. Some of this can be a byproduct of fatigue, by the way. And so I took like 3 or 4 Melissa baths, just boom, 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 4 days in a row. And started resting better, started feeling better, started sleeping better. Everything kind of got a little bit better. And so some of the mental faculties could be agitation triggers from things in the past, but it really is about things that are happening now. And so it might not be so much the anatomy physiology that you have in general, but your anatomy physiology responding to things in the environment. And given that you have this past with your mom and the way she's behaving, I would heavily lean on mom's triggering stuff. And so I would go to treatments that are about reducing those triggers. Neroli can also be helpful, can reduce the anxiety, things like that. Sometimes even galbanum can be helpful. Cape snowbush, But for me, I tend to go to the rose. You know, the rose seems to calm things down. You know, and if the heart is bigger, you're more easily able to transmute what's going on, and you're less likely to personalize it. And when the heart is relatively more activated, more light comes in the situation. And so sometimes if you just stay quiet, sometimes those situations where there's all that turmoil, it actually will just resolve itself without you really even having to do anything. And so, I mean, worst case scenario, you might have to stay away from your mom, but I would say all these things should be, you know, tried and exhausted first before you just start staying away from her. You know, I'm not one to like say you have to remove yourself or stop doing something to make it better. I'd rather try to heal through the situation, but sometimes it's just a little much. So I would try these things first.
Okay, so Rose,
I just pick one of them. You don't have to. I mean, I would try Rose. Melissa would be my second choice. Then like Neroli. I mean, you could try Galbanum and like Cape Snowbush, but they're probably not going to be strong enough for what's going on. It might have to be more of a Rose situation.
I think I'll go with Rose. I've been wanting to, now I have a good excuse.
Nice.
Okay, well, thank you. And then just the other, you're done on that subject. This past weekend, when we did the solar plexus chakra class, I was completely prepared for a super intense weekend, and it was quite lovely and very smooth, surprisingly for me. I was just no tears, no nothing. I was completely like, wow, that was it until yesterday.
Yeah.
And then up in the morning, wow, my friend who I share here residence with, I had to warn him to stay away from me upstairs at one point because I was just, I would say angry would be a good word for it. I mean, like,
Yeah.
and it was nothing about anything in particular. It was just like, okay, I was doing something and I messed up on my phone and I literally didn't do it, but I wanted to like throw my phone across the room and smash it, like just that kind of aggression and intent. And then all of a sudden I'd be crying just for no reason. And then sleep. All I wanted to do was sleep. Like I just was sitting in a chair and next thing I know, I can't sleep. So is that gonna, I wanted to ask, I've been using the poplar balsam spray, which I need to get also some more of that, but what else could I use? And maybe lavender, I think.
I would go back to the Rose.
Rose, okay, great. Then I'll order that tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, the thing with the all those kinds of things, those are still like a lot of lower emotions, and so, you know, a lot of that can be agitation in the lower centers. What
Yes.
happens with the solar plexus thing is you start to have a lot more stillness and a lot more peace, and then things that are been there and have been agitating, all of a sudden you're like, that's there and this is there. And so you're cleaning house a little bit. It's not even about the content of things going on. It's just that the body has gotten in an agitated state and can be there for years or even decades. And so, you know, it doesn't just shut off. And so it could be from an event that is even a long time ago. And you start calming things down, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's like, think about it like this. You hear a beeping sound, you know, like beep, 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 and it's super annoying. You're in the middle of a store where it's loud and there's a lot of other noises. You hear it, it doesn't really bother you. But if you're sitting in peace and quiet and that same beep is beeping, it kind of bugs the crap out of you, you know? And so sometimes these things have been there for a long time. We've had a lot of other distractions. And then all of a sudden things start to get peaceful. And then there's the beep, beep, beep. And then you're like, what the F? What is going on? This is, you know, bugging me like nobody's business. And this is the thing with I would put this actually in the same realm as pain. And pain is a really interesting thing. You go through and you reduce, say you have pain in your shoulder, and you go through and you reduce the pain in the shoulder, and then you'll go, oh, all of a sudden, I have like a lot of pain in my low back. That low back pain was always there, but the only thing you were able to perceive was the pain in the shoulder. A lot of times there's 2 or 3, even 4 other places that have pain and sending information to the brain, but your brain only sees and perceives the primary. And this can happen psychologically, and this can happen with agitation. And you go through and you start quieting things down, and then all of a sudden, this underlying like agitation, upset, anger, whatever, it was always there. It was just there was other things on top of it that basically didn't allow you to see it. So you uncover all these different pieces, and then all of a sudden you like that anger. There's that anger. It was always there, but we quieted other things down, and now, you're cleaning house and you go, oh, now it's the corners. I got to get the corners. I've done damage control on all the big stuff, and now we're going to start unwinding some of these little things. And so for you, I would again go back to the rose.
Okay, so I will do that. And then just because I want to continue working on cleaning this particular center, because it's been years of accumulation, you mentioned over the weekend to do no more than once a week, the whole and that we should do the whole entire class, maybe 2 or 3 times before we start being standalone individual, right? Okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Good talking with you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great questions tonight, guys.
Yeah, you guys are asking awesome questions, by the way.
I'm gonna go back to the top here. Just so you guys know, I'll get Larch up on the website tonight.
Yeah, we'll get it up. Sorry.
Because I know it's also on the recommended list for this weekend.
Yeah, I've been spending a little bit more time with Astara, so I've gotten a little distracted, but we're getting back on track.
Question, my daughter has subluxation, her shoulders. She's gotten a physical therapy for it. I'm wondering if there's some essential oil help.
So her shoulders are dislocated, or you're having issues in the neck that's causing shoulder issues?
Sorry, Greg. Yeah, this is
Yeah, Balaji.
Yeah, so it's like not dislocated, but it's like keeps like sort of like slipping off, if you will. It hurts and so on. So that's what she says. So she
Like, what do you mean it slips off? Like, just describe what happens.
or like yeah, maybe as you said, like it just says it just like it's creaky and it sort of like keeps.
It creaks, like there's grinding, popping, creaking sound.
Yeah.
Okay, so so what's probably happening is the rotator cuff is not tracking, like it's out of balance. Anytime you see like creaking or popping in the joint, it's like if you look at the person from the backside, the shoulder blade itself, like the majority of that back shoulder blade is covered by this muscle called the infraspinatus or infraspinatus. And so it is excessively tight and will cause the joint to like pop and make grinding sounds, and you need to unwind that muscle so that the muscles in that girdle start to balance out. Your best bet is marjoram. You could put marjoram on as an ointment. One of the things that I'd like to do in this kind of situation, if she's up for it, is to do a compress, which, you take some warm water, you put about 6-8 drops in, you drop in a paper towel, and then put it on the shoulder blade. And then when it kind of cools down, dip it in the water again and like do several cycles of it, and do it on both shoulder blades. And then afterwards you can dry it off and even put some neat marjoram, just directly on the spot. And that should really start to help break down the tension in the shoulder girdles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Greg.
Yeah, we hold like crazy amounts of tension there, but when it starts to cause like popping and creaking, does she play sports? Does she play volleyball or softball or something like that?
Yeah, she used to play sport, but since that happened, she cannot really. She's not into sports
What
right
sport was she playing?
She was playing tennis.
Tennis. Yeah, still. Okay. I mean, try what we're talking about, and then let me know next week, and we'll see from there.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
You're so.
Go ahead, Adriana.
Hey, Adriana.
Let me get you. We can't hear you. Go ahead now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, Greg, I have a question for you.
Yes, fine.
My husband is having chest pain since 3 months ago. So he went to the doctor. Initially, he had an electrocardiogram and everything is perfect.
So everything's fine, but he's still having chest
Everything
pain.
is perfect, yeah.
Is it going
So-
down either of the arms? Does it go down the left arm or the right?
No, it's just the chest.
Does he have
and it's
any-
coming from like a right side to left side.
Okay.
And after that, he had an X-ray just to see inflammation, and no inflammation. So
Okay.
everything is
And
fine.
so respiratory issues at all? Is he having a hard
No.
time breathing?
No.
Did he
No.
have COVID over the last
No,
year and a half?
no.
Okay.
Nothing
So
like that. And
what
after
this
that,
is,
so Greg, and after that, he had a CT scan.
Mhm.
So and the CT scan shows nothing.
Nothing. So no blood pressure issue, no nothing.
Nothing.
Okay. So what this is they call this, what do they call this? They call it pseudo, it doesn't matter. But it's basically, it's a soft tissue issue that mimics cardiovascular issue. Like it seems like, oh, it's one of the symptoms, but it's actually there's, you have your big chest muscles here. The big chest muscles here called the pectoralis major, right? There's different sections of it and everything. And so what happens is when these get tight, they can restrict the chest and things like that. But when they start to develop trigger points, they actually will mimic cardiovascular issues. And so you've gone through and you've done all the right things where you go through and you look at the heart and you look at blood pressure and, you look at like what's going on, and none of that's panning out. It's just basically tightness, especially in specific areas of the chest. And so like I'd like to see a rotation of different things that are antispasmodic rubbed and applied to his chest in a base of massage oil or lotion or something like that. But we can start off with marjoram. We could also do basil, but one of the ones that I'd probably like to see is even ginger. Like I'd like to see some ginger. Yeah, like start with marjoram first, and then after a few days, switch over to the ginger. And then from the ginger, the thing that I'd like to have followed up after the ginger is black pepper. And if you go through and you unwind these, this should take a lot of the tension out of his chest. Sometimes you might want to augment the treatment by having them inhale like hyssop or Sitka or larch to unwind the diaphragm as well, because sometimes it could be tied to him being a little bit more of a chest breather rather than a lower abdominal breather. And so this will help further take out some of the tension of the chest, but it's basically super tight muscles in his chest, in his pectoralis major. Like it's, it can actually like even like, radiate down the arm, like chest pain and radiating down the arm, like there's a heart issue, and it's just, it's a pseudo like heart pain.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have one more question. Does it ever feel like his heart itself is aching? Like, you know, like he feels like there's something in his chest that's a little bit achy.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I think so.
just in case, like, let's have you ask him that, but just in case, the thing, you know, because sometimes all the tightness and everything, it causes poor lymphatic movement in and around the heart.
Mhm.
And so you use pine oil, like not even in massage oil. You just put several drops of pine oil on his chest and just rub it on his chest. And it will take that achiness out of the physical heart. You know, it's
Because
basically the heart is just, the pH is off.
I have been using lymphatic blend
Mhm.
just for that, but I'm not so sure if it has been working well.
No, it needs to be more antispasmodic. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Needs to, like, it needs to increase circulation, you know, so like the marjoram is starting to unwind the spasms, the ginger will kind of continue and reduce some inflammation, and then the black pepper will really help increase the circulation to the muscles. And so if you kind of do it over each oil over a few days, it should be helpful. Like it should knock it out. And if it doesn't, let us know. But yeah, it should knock it out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that he got checked out and there's no heart issue and
No.
there's like it's chest pain. It's muscular. So like, you know, don't be super concerned, but we want to make him comfortable, you know, and so the doctor's already checked him out. So I think you're good. You just got to unwind the chest.
Yeah,
And so-
and because not
Yeah.
knowing what it is
yeah. Oh, it's
like
super scary.
stressing.
Oh, yeah. I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
So
Really
you're so
appreciate it.
welcome. But keep us posted on that.
Thank you.
Okay. We have
a
what
few
time
more
for
minutes.
one
We have a
more?
few more minutes. I'm gonna do this one just well, you know, let me just go back to the top here and we'll just see how much we can get you guys. We don't get you our Facebook plant chronic Q&A for the students. We can put in some questions Tuesdays. Just check real quick. Anything particular for the itchy eyes with this decreased air quality? Back to the stuff.
You know, the thing that we've been using around here is we're using a hydrosol of Roman chamomile, and that's working. It's not an oil; it's actually a hydrosol. I mean, that's been knocking out your itchy eyes.
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can put it on the website. It's not really expensive. It's just I usually haven't worked with hydrosols very much because they, you know, in 6 months or a year they start going bad, and so they're not quite the same potency of an essential oil. But maybe we could make like a 4-ounce bottle. I usually to stabilize, I'll add alcohol to a hydrosol to stabilize it to make it last longer. But for the eyes, you really can't do that. And so we'll put it up. It's not very expensive, but it's also, you got to use it up, like, because it's not going to have a long shelf life, like probably a year at the most.
I have what seems similar circumstance, but with someone I'm involved with romantically, like Channing has. How do I deal with that?
And you're still involved with this person? Or?
Yeah.
You live together or just dating?
Tried living, didn't work.
Yeah. I would try the same formula that we did with Channing, and you're going to have to do it consistently because you're still interacting with the person and you're trying to disentangle and break away from this pattern. And, you know, being involved, you guys have gotten very engaged. You know, that's kind of what happens when you're in a relationship. And so trying to break out of it, it takes a while. You do the things that you know, but keep working on the manipulation pattern that we laid out. Even if you do it for a week or two, you should start to notice a little bit of a difference when you're interacting with the person. Okay, I need to get going to the next, I'm sorry, to the next meeting. So love you guys, and great questions tonight, by the way.
Oh, we had a couple people actually asking about the rows, so I can just knock this out real quick at time. Which rows do you recommend, especially if they're taking it internally?
Yeah,
all about safety?
it needs to be not the absolute. So it can be like the.
Because Rose Supreme does have the absolute, or does I
You
don't know.
could use Rose Supreme because it only has a little bit of the Rose Absolute, but the Damascus Rose or the Turkish Rose. Either way.
That was it. Okay, thanks.
Okay, love you guys. I'll talk to you. We're not on for tomorrow night just because I have meetings, and so next weekend we're doing the free class, and then next Tuesday night we're still on as normal. So next Tuesday and Wednesday. So love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.